This episode is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Peptides are not FDA approved for general use, and you should always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before starting anything new. Today we are diving into one of the most talked about combinations in the peptide world, and that is the Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin mix, often called Tesa and Ipa. If you have been around peptide conversations at all, you have probably heard people refer to this as one of the most powerful fat loss and body recomposition stacks available without stepping into traditional hormone replacement or anabolic territory. So let's slow this down and really walk through what this combination is, how it works, what it feels like, why people use it, how to use it correctly, and what you should realistically expect. First, let's talk about what each peptide is individually, because understanding that is the key to understanding why they work so well together. Tesamorelin is a growth hormone-releasing hormone analog. That means it signals your pituitary gland to release growth hormone in a way that mimics your body's natural signaling process. It is actually one of the few peptides that has FDA approval, specifically for reducing visceral fat in patients with HIV. That alone tells you it is not just hype. It has real, measurable effects on fat stored around the organs, which is one of the most stubborn and dangerous types of fat. Ipamorelin, on the other hand, is a growth hormone secretagogue. It works through a different pathway, stimulating the ghrelin receptor, which also leads to growth hormone release. What makes Ipamorelin unique compared to older peptides is that it is very selective. It does not significantly increase cortisol or prolactin, which is a huge advantage. So now you have two peptides that both increase growth hormone, but through different mechanisms. And this is where the magic happens. When you combine Tesamorelin and Ipamorelin, you are essentially hitting the same outcome, growth hormone release, from two different angles. Tesamorelin tells your body to release growth hormone in a more natural, pulsatile way, while Ipamorelin amplifies that signal without adding a bunch of unwanted side effects. Think of it like this. Tesamorelin is pressing the gas pedal in a smooth, controlled way, and Ipamorelin is making sure the engine responds more efficiently. Together, they create a stronger, more consistent growth hormone pulse. Now, let's talk about why people actually use this stack. The number one reason is fat loss, specifically stubborn fat. Not just general weight loss, but the kind of fat that sits around the lower abdomen, love handles, and even deeper visceral fat. This is the fat that does not respond easily to diet and exercise alone, especially as we get older. The second big reason is muscle preservation and even mild muscle gain. Growth hormone plays a major role in recovery, tissue repair, and maintaining lean body mass. So while you are losing fat, you are also protecting muscle, which is the holy grail of body recomposition. The third reason is recovery and sleep. Many people report deeper sleep, better recovery from workouts, and an overall sense of improved well-being. Now, let's talk about what this actually feels like, because this is something people are always curious about. When you first start a Tesa and Ipa protocol, you may not feel anything dramatic right away. This is not like a stimulant. There is no immediate rush. But within the first week or two, a lot of people notice improved sleep. You may fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up feeling more refreshed. Some people notice vivid dreams. That is actually pretty common because growth hormone release is closely tied to deep sleep cycles. You might also notice a slight increase in hunger, especially with Ipamorelin, since it interacts with the ghrelin receptor. For some people, this is mild. For others, it is more noticeable. This is something to be aware of, especially if your goal is fat loss. You still have to control your diet. As the weeks go on, you may start to notice changes in your body composition. Clothes fitting differently, waistline shrinking, and a more defined look overall. This is usually not dramatic overnight, but it is steady and noticeable over time. Now let's talk about dosing and timing, because this is where a lot of people either get it right or completely mess it up. A very common approach is to take the Tesa and Ipa mix once daily, usually at night before bed. The reason for this is that your body naturally releases growth hormone during sleep, so you are essentially amplifying that natural pulse. Some people split the dose into twice daily, once in the morning fasted and once at night. The fasted state is important because insulin can blunt growth hormone release. So if you are injecting in the morning, you want to do it before eating. Typical dosing ranges can vary, but a common starting point is around 1 to 2 milligrams of tesamorelin combined with 200 to 300 micrograms of ipamorelin per injection. Some people adjust from there based on response and tolerance. Consistency is key. This is not something you take randomly. You want to use it consistently for several weeks to really see the benefits. Now, let's talk about cycle length. Most people run the stack for about 8 to 12 weeks. Some go longer, but it is important to give your body breaks. Even though these peptides stimulate natural growth hormone release, you still want to avoid overstimulation. Now, let's get into some of the side effects and what you might experience. One of the most common things people report is mild water retention. This can show up as a slightly puffy look or a small increase in weight initially. This is usually temporary and often resolves as your body adjusts. Some people experience tingling or numbness in the hands, similar to what you might feel with higher growth hormone levels. This is usually mild and dose-dependent. Injection site reactions can happen, especially with tesamorelin. You might see redness, slight swelling, or a mild sting. This is normal for many people and usually not a cause for concern unless it is severe or persistent. Now, let's talk about expectations, because this is where I want to be very real with you. This is not magic. It is powerful, but it is not magic. If your diet is terrible and you are not moving your body, this is not going to transform you. It works best when combined with a solid foundation of nutrition, resistance training, and sleep. Think of it as an amplifier. It amplifies what you are already doing. If you are doing the right things, it can accelerate your progress significantly. If you are not, it will not fix that. Another important point is that results vary. Some people respond incredibly well, others see more subtle changes. Genetics, lifestyle, and consistency all play a role. Now let's talk about stacking this with other things, because this is where it gets interesting. A lot of people combine Tesa and Ipa with fat loss peptides like GLP-1 agonists or even retatrutide. The idea is to control appetite while enhancing fat loss and preserving muscle. Others stack it with recovery peptides like BPC-157 or TB-500 to support healing and reduce inflammation. And then you have people who combine it with mitochondrial peptides like MOS-C or NAD+ to support energy production and metabolic health. But again, more is not always better. You want to be intentional with your stack, not just throw everything together. Now let's talk about something that does not get discussed enough, and that is lifestyle alignment. If you are running a Tesa and Ipa protocol, you should be prioritizing sleep. This is non-negotiable. Growth hormone release is heavily tied to sleep quality. You should also be resistance training. Even if it is just a few times per week, you want to give your body a reason to build and maintain muscle. Nutrition should be dialed in. High protein intake is especially important because you are trying to support muscle preservation while losing fat. And hydration matters. Growth hormone can influence fluid balance, so staying hydrated helps your body function optimally. Now, let's address a common question, which is, do you need to supplement anything while running this? Some people choose to support their body with things like zinc or magnesium, especially for sleep and recovery. Others focus on overall nutrient density in their diet. There is no one-size-fits-all answer here, but supporting your body is always a good idea. Now, let's talk about coming off. When you stop using Tesa and Ipa, your body will gradually return to its baseline growth hormone levels. There is no harsh crash like you might see with some other compounds. However, if you are relying on it heavily for fat loss or recovery, you may notice a difference. This is why it is important to build sustainable habits while you are using it. Think of it as a tool, not a crutch. Now, let's bring this all together. The Tesa and Ipa mix is one of the most effective peptide combinations for fat loss, body recomposition, and recovery. It works by enhancing your body's natural growth hormone release in a synergistic way. It can improve sleep, support muscle preservation, and help reduce stubborn fat, especially when used consistently and paired with a solid lifestyle. But it is not a shortcut. It is a tool that works best when you are already putting in the effort. This episode is for educational and informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before starting any peptide or supplement protocol. Thanks for listening, keep learning, and stay curious.